So I feel like I'm really a conduit. Like, you know, I see things, I'm always shuffling things around. Like I saw this over here, I put it over here. Saw this over here, put it next to that. And then I have an opportunity to show something, and then I'll filter it in some way, put it on the wall, or put it on a pillow, or put it on a plate. My tax preparer once said to me, Pete Dufour, he deserves a plug. He's got me through 4 audits now. And he said, I hired him because I asked him, you know, is the IRS going to audit me because I make more money talking about my work than selling it when I spend a lot of money on materials. And he thought for a second and he said, your work, they're props for your talks. You know, for me, it really is about the story. It really is about like this moment right here. Like my work wouldn't exist without the people who make the lists, or the people who throw the things away, or the people that recycle the bottles and cans, and just, you know, just sharing. It's like show and tell. That's, I think, that's who I am. I'm a show and tell artist. Is that I see something, and then I put it out in the world in a place where people can trip over it and see it. Or I request things, you know, I'm always having these calls for things. I need your list, I need your items to release. That idea of participation and reciprocity is really important to me. I was collecting lists really avidly for about 10 years. First, just randomly like picking lists up, and then I worked in a grocery store for a year as a cake decorator in Kansas City to access this digital cake printer. And in the process of that, people would sometimes leave their lists on the counter, or I would find them in the cart or on the ground during my breaks or outside. And I was slowly amassed a very small collection. And in 2005, I had a show at Western Exhibitions coming up, and I wanted to make some new work using the list. And I started making these panels, these inlaid burnishing clay panels. And I had a small file of lists. I had a folder. My friend John Neff in Chicago had sent me some lists also. And so it's interesting how when you're clear, when people know what you're interested in, they'll send you things. And there's that participatory part, this kind of crowdsourced part that's, I think, both a part of what I'm doing now with these piles. I think like they're crowdsourced, they're collaboratively created. They manifest what we do with our time, what we're consuming, certainly what we're releasing, but all that stuff had to be consumed at one point, and the idea of letting go of something, whether it's a chair or a fence, you let go of one usually to make space for the new or make space for something else. So there's this continuous flow and tide of stuff coming in and out, and I was very interested in what people were doing with their lives and how to live a meaningful life and what to have on my to-do list. And I felt like I could never get my to-do list complete, and I always thought everybody else could, you know, that sort of thing. And so the list work, it was kind of petering out, although I've done a few wallpaper installations, kind of intermittent with the sort of ascension of the release-based work and the woodpile and the recycling bales and all of that. But like now I see that it's all the same work. Like when I look through my studio in Portland, and there's like all these binders of lists, and they're like, you know, I have boxes of lists and binders of lists, archival, you know, some are very organized and some are just like, I've never even looked through the pile yet. But it's all really sort of the same stuff. Like it sort of reflects, it's very intimate, it comes from someone's life, but it's anonymous. The woodpile is a communally created construction. I think it's sort of more beautiful than any sculpture I could ever make. It's epic in scale, and it's got this kind of raw and visceral feel, which now I understand. It's like, oh, because they have this bulldozer that comes and pushes the stuff, and but there's this quality to it. It really does remind me of like the seaweed on the beach, or this like this feel of how it like it waxes and it wanes, and every time I go, it's different. I saw somebody tossing something onto the woodpile, and my instinct, because now that's how we live, we often have a phone in our pocket. I took a picture, and then I kept doing it, both of people tossing things on the woodpile and that gesture of release, which to me feels infectious. Like it looks like something I want to participate in. And when I see other people release, both visually and also when I hear about it, that's something like when I tell people about the emotional value auction, they're often like, oh, I have something I'd let go of. My lifetime has been the era of convenience. Everything's been in service of basically getting us to work. My mom always says, you don't understand. There was no daycare, there was no microwave, there was no drive-through. All that stuff that's been developed to get, like people at a job so they can then, I guess, pay the daycare. And so this idea of being so busy and having to pay pay the mortgage, pay the phone bill, pay the Wi-Fi bill, and pay like all this stuff, this system has gotten us to a place where we can justify, throwing the food in the trash, throwing the recycling in the trash, making stuff out of plastic, even, this fallacy that like the recycle bin is some kind of solution. We shouldn't be using single-use plastic at all. I mean, the fact that we can justify that, or don't even take the time to justify it, right? Just consume it without even thinking about it. But yeah, I notice that stuff. I walk around and I notice like what's left outside Starbucks at night. And that's interesting to me as an artist, like, or all of the detergent bottles in the grocery store. They're beautiful and terrifying, right? They're gorgeous in the way, the syncopation of the color and the form, but that we're just like we're killing ourselves with shampoo bottles, and I'm not trying to preach from on high. I'm in this as much as anybody else. This dress behind me, I made that because I'm literally up to here. I camouflage myself with the bale because I try not to take a plastic water bottle, but if I am in a certain situation, I do. And so that idea of pressing pause so that people can sit and look and really reflect. I should go out of my way. I should be inconvenienced. And I think that's a big part of my ethic, is being inconvenienced. And that is un-American. And that's what we need, right? Like we're moving toward a very inconvenient phase, right? Like in terms of the climate, and in terms of economy, in terms of pandemic. Oh, it's inconvenient. My point is that the stuff is uncomfortable and messy and problematic, and I'm not trying to, create problems, but we have a problem, and I'm trying to highlight it, I guess, or draw attention. I had one faculty member in grad school who flat out told me, I was making these little dry point etchings and filling objects with them that I had gotten like at yard sales or thrift shops or flea markets, and she said, I think you're using your work to justify your urge to collect. And I was like, yeah, that sounds right, And I didn't see that. I mean, I wouldn't have framed it that way. I would say, I'm trying to breathe new life into old objects. I'm not here to shame anybody for hoarding or cluttering. I'm certainly a clutterer. I may be a hoarder. I think the jury's out. Although people I know probably would say the jury's in. But I think that, for me, I'm always, I envy the people that can travel light and can pack their life into a car and move on. I'm not that person. I probably will never be that person. And I think, I know it holds me back. And, and I also, I show up, I volunteer. I literally have thousands of other people's to-do lists and grocery lists in my studio. And if I were a civilian, right, if I was a person who didn't call herself an artist, that would be probably considered a hoarding activity, because I'm an artist and there's history and precedent for artists collecting things and having archives. I think it is. I don't think inherently, I just want to have to-do lists. I think that I do have all these lists because I wanted to do this project and that research. And then it led to that. Like, I got this one interesting list and that made me more interested. And then it sort of collected. I'm not super attached to them. I would love somebody to say, maybe as a result of this video, like there is this archive of material culture, American studies at some university or some museum or some place. I would love that, the way that, the attention that not only I spent, but more the other people who so generously shared with me, neighbors who would find, the list written on a shingle at Home Depot or Lowe's and, put that on my windshield. I would find fascinating things all the time because people knew that I was collecting this, and then it made other people sensitized, and then they would give me things. I know I need communion with people. I need to connect. I'm a pathological connector to other people. I connect other people. I connect to other people. Like, that's something I need, and my work does that. Sometimes not even the physical person, like I'm connecting to someone with their life through literally a scrap of paper that I find on the ground. But it's all about connection. And so if I understand that, I can talk about that in a way that is more informed, and then I can seek it in other ways both through my work and outside my work. It's not an easy question, and maybe it takes a while to figure that out, but I think it's worth asking why.